All right, Diana, you found me. We're just going to give it a few, maybe a minute or two, because I messed up and I sent out a link and then I happened to delete it. So, for those of you who are here, give me a thumbs up, comment, let me know that you're here. That'd be great. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Diane Dimich and I'm with DDStamps.com here in Montana. And I do these lives every night. So tonight is Thursday, August 22nd. And we are going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully people will find me. Oh, it looks like people are finding me. Cool. All right. So anyway, I messed up in the first email I sent out, had a link in it, and I was messing around with my computer, which I should never do, and I deleted that live. Hey, you found me. Hi, Mare. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and flip my camera because I got quite a bit to show tonight, and it's really warm in here, and I don't want to. I just had a bug fly at my face. So we'll get started. If anybody has any questions, do not hesitate to put them in the comments section and ask, and I will answer them if I can. So hopefully everything's working tonight. It has been, and let's hope it stays that way. I'm working with the color wheel tonight, so we'll talk about that. But before we do, I want to talk about, this month's tutorial. I got all kinds of stuff piled up here to work with. So this month's tutorial uses a set that's in the holiday mini catalog. And for those of you who are customers of mine, oh good, hi Joan, hey Karen. Glad to see people are showing up. For those of you who are customers of mine, I am getting word that people are starting to get their holiday mini catalogs. Those catalogs go live September 4th. So hopefully everybody will have one by, did it lock up? It did. Darn it. Okay, I think I'm back. I don't know what I do, but I have a tendency to lock up my phone. All right, so anyway, this month's tutorial uses one of the sets. You received your mini catalog. Oh, good. Diana got it. Perfect. All right. Hopefully everybody else will start getting it and we'll have it in their hot little hands. So it all starts, hey Sylvie, you can't order on that until September 4th. We'll talk about that a little bit later because there's other things coming out in September too. It's going to be kind of a wild and crazy September. So anyway, August tutorial uses one of the suites that's in the holiday mini, and I use the Winterly Treetop suite with the dies. Oh, I thought I had them all set up in here pretty, but I don't. Anyway, these are all the dies. This is a great one. This is it locked up again. Come on, phone. So this is a great die. It is a frame, and you can see that it cuts out those branches. I'll show you a card here in a minute. But a lot of the images are cut out, and then some of them are just standalone images. So I will show you. I have to be really careful with my dies because I just opened up a set that's fairly new that I haven't used much, and I can't find one of the dies. So I hate when that happens. All right. So the cards that are in the tutorial. So how this works is anybody that places an order with me in August gets the tutorial for free. It's as a thank you email. And if your order's over $50, I send you a kit of supplies. So this will go out in September, the kit, and it will have, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Shoot. There we go. It will have a kit of supplies to make the cards that I've got here. So anyway, this is one of them. This is just designer series paper and a little banner that I put together. This one uses that frame in a couple different ways. I actually cut out two and flipped the back one so that the branches come different ways. This is a great one. This one uses the texture stamp that's in there, the tree something, and then some of the embellishments. This one has some of those standalone dies in there that to me look like pussy willows. This one just is designer series paper in the stamp set. And then this one also. I really took advantage of the designer series paper. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. And a lot of the images are great for standalone. Hey, Jenny, I'm glad you made it. My computer or my phone keeps locking up. And so it kind of stalls out, but I think you can still hear me. And hopefully I will catch it. And if I don't catch it within a time frame, somebody let me know. All right, so this week I've got a class on Saturday, and these kits went out earlier this week. The supplies for this class, using the Layers of Beauty stamp set and sponging. So the class on Saturday is actually going to be on Zoom, which is going to be fun because I'll be able to see the participants and they'll be able to see me and they'll be able to ask questions, which I'm looking forward to that. I hope it works out. We'll see. Oh, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will work. All right, so that is that. Now, as far as that class goes Saturday, if you are interested, sorry, you would have to have signed up. However, if you're interested in just taking the class without signing up, you could send me an email. The class is $25. That includes the Saturday morning class, which I think will probably take, I don't know, probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then you also get the PDFs of all the projects with all the supplies and everything. And the class, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to walk through each card with every step, and I'll be giving you different tips and tricks and techniques. So if you are interested in taking that class, just the class portion, send me an email and I can send you out that information. The class will be videoed, so if you can't make it on Saturday, you can certainly if you can't make it Saturday, you could certainly watch it afterwards. All right, color wheel. Let's bring it out. So we had talked about the color wheel a while back, and people had asked me if I would do information or things on the color wheel. I'm looking for the color wheel in the catalog. There we go. So I decided, I kind of looked it over and thought the easiest way to do the color wheel class is to just take it in small chunks. We're just going to take a little bit of information and then we're going to spread it out over the next couple weeks. Now, that doesn't mean that next week I'm coming in and doing another part of color wheel. It really depends on how much time I have to do a little bit of research, because I really want to explain it to people. I don't want to just say, well, just follow the color wheel, because it doesn't really make sense to a lot of people. All right, so Stampin' Up! Gave us this color wheel at one of our trainings in OnStage a couple months ago. It's very similar to the one in the catalog. This one's a little bit, probably has a few more colors because I think it has the in colors in it. They are in the process of making a color wheel for customers that they will sell. I am not sure when that will be available. I haven't heard much about it. So we'll just wait and see what happens. But hey, Jean, we're going to talk about, okay, so we're going to talk about the color wheel tonight. And basically what we're going to talk about is the, oh, Jesus, there we go. Sorry, it keeps locking up. All right, so basically what we're going to talk about tonight is monochromatic, because it's the easiest to explain. But let me talk first just about the color wheel. So when you're looking at your color wheel in the back of your catalog, this color wheel has all of Stampin' Up's basic colors. And when you're dealing with a color wheel in real life, it's all basically the same. You really just need to look at these in here, because these are the colors of the color wheel. So your primary colors are blue, yellow, and red. So they're in the triangle. And every color that's on the color wheel comes from blue, red, and yellow with white, black, or gray. And that just kind of makes it for tinting and the tone. And oh, this is going to be frustrating. Sorry. For tinting, tone, and shades. All right, so all the colors come from red, blue, and yellow, white, black, and gray. Oh, I'm glad you made it, Joan. Okay, so anyway, that's the color wheel. So there's lots of different parts of the color wheel, and you can use lots of different areas. There's monochromatic, complementary, analogous, and triadic. And I'm just going to discuss tonight monochromatic. So basically what monochromatic is, it means mono means one, chromatic means color. So it just means one color. So when you're looking at the color wheel, and I'm going to bring this one in because on this particular color wheel, it actually tells you your monochromatic colors. So you can flip this around, pick some colors, and I'll do that because and knowing that you're going to use monochromatic colors, you would find that these colors that fall into this little window look good together. And what you'll see is you'll see 5 colors of varying tints and tones in the same region. So if you're looking at this one, you could just go and look at 5 colors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and know that if you used Pretty in Pink to Cajun Craze, it's going to be a monochromatic card. We'll go like this so you can actually see it. And it's going to look good together. All right, so the colors that I was using, I'm going to flip this around because I was looking at Pool Party to Pretty Peacock. So, and I'm going to use those tonight at some point. The other thing that you need to realize in monochromatic is that in my world, you can bring in neutrals, whites, to add into your monochromatic color. All right, so we're going to start with a card just using one color. So I'm bringing in this cardstock, and I'm using pecan pie. And then I found some pecan pie plaid paper, because you know how I feel about plaid. This is actually from the Iconic Christmas. And I've listed down below in the YouTube description and also on my website. I've listed everything I've used. So this paper is called Iconic Celebrations. And it is, seriously, just paper for all kinds of celebrations. So there's trees and peppermints and hearts and pumpkins. And then you go to the back, and you've got a whole bunch more of that. This is in one of the online exclusives packs. So we're going to use pecan pie. So this is a piece of 8.5. This was a piece of 8.5 by 11 that I cut in half, and I fold in half, which gives me my basic card size. I'm going to take that piece of Designer Series paper. It has pumpkins on the back. We're only going to use the front. And I'm just going to cut this down to 4 by 5.25. So my basic card front is 4.25 by 5.5. And if I cut them down to 4 by 5.25, it gives me a nice border around my edge. Okay. We'll put that on there. And so what we've got here, of course, is pecan pie paper with pecan pie cardstock. And then I've got a couple of pieces here that I'm going to use with the pecan pie ink and a sponge dauber. We're going to use I'm going to set this aside because that's my layer. We're going to use this one to begin with. And I'm going to start by, I'm going to do stenciling tonight, or masking. And I just found that this was kind of a fun one to use. I'm going to tape that down because I want to make sure that this does not go anywhere. Okay, and then we're going to use the tree set. And somewhere here it is. So I'm using Frosted Forest. It actually comes as a bundle, but I'm not using the dies tonight. I'm just using the stamp set and the masks. And so the masks, you get the trees, pine trees, the 3 of the masks, and then the standalone tree, which is 3 masks. So I'm going to pull those out because that's the one I'm going to use. Here's the image of the tree already on the block. I'm going to ink it up with pecan pie ink. And I'm going to stamp this onto my paper, hopefully close to the middle. I'm giving it a good press because I wanted to make sure that I get a good image, and I did. This is a great tree. But when you add in your masking, it's crazy how it changes. So I'm going to start with the stem. And because I stamped that tree first off, you got to have your mask going the right way. So this has a 1 in it. That means it's one that you use first. Make sure that little notch is on this side, your left-hand side. And then when you line this up, and I'm sure that you can see that, and I'm going to get closer. There we go. Yeah, that's good. All right, so I'm going to line this up. The issue that I have the most is that I can't get my head in there to line it up because otherwise my head would be in the camera. So I'm inking it up on a sponge dauber with the pecan pie ink. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tap this off to get a lot of that ink off because I really just want this to be light. And actually what I have found is that the lighter is better because you can always add more ink. It's hard to take it away. So you can see how you get the stem of the tree. And then I'm going to come in with the next one. And this one easily lines up to the, again, have it going the right way. It easily lines up to that stamped image. I found that this particular tree looks great without the stamped image, but if you're going to stamp the image anyway, stamp it first, and then it's easier to line up your to line up your tree. So once you got that, and you'll see all these little branches in here, they're actually going to cover up the mask that we did for the bark of the tree. So again, I'm going to ink up, stamp off, and I'm very lightly, oh, got too dark. Oh, got too dark. Oh well, it's okay. I shouldn't have inked it up again. Because really what I could find was that it would work fine without. But you'll see that the tree gets filled in. And then if you want to, you can come in with another stencil. And this one is a little bit more difficult to line up, but honestly, you'll see it. And there is a way I'll show you how you can mark it. And this one I am going in a little bit darker. I did not re-ink my dauber. Because it certainly has enough on it. So anyway, you can see how that tree comes together. And what I would advise people is use less ink because you can always add more ink. But you can see the dimension you get in this tree. And it's all just one color. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this to the pecan pie. Oops, dragging that through the... I got to clean that off. I use, with my stamps, I'll show you here in a minute, I use a chamois. So these chamois I got at our auto parts store, and they're big, and I just chop them all up into little pieces, and then that's what I use to clean my stamps with. And it's what I use to clean my stamps with. And then I just took this one just out of the washing machine, so you can tell that the washing machine doesn't wash it very well. All right, so we're going to layer this onto a piece of pecan pie. And I will tell you for this layer, for this particular layer, I cut my cardstock at like 3 by 4.5, the white piece. And then the piece that's behind it is just 2/8 inch wider on 2 sides. So if the white piece is 4.5, then the pecan piece is 4 and 1, 2, 3/8, right? And so then if it's 3 inches, it's 3 1/8 of an inch. And that just gives it a really fine border. I like that border on a lot of my cards just because it helps make that stand out. And I'm not doing a whole lot to my cards tonight. Because I really wanted to just show you how that monochromatic Makes it stand out. And then I can take this little thank you stamp and stamp it down there. And there is a finished complete card. I'm going to show you the card I did earlier because you'll see how I lightly, this one's darker, this one I lightly sponged, or used a sponge dauber on. Still has the same texture. I just did it lightly, not so dark, but both work. And they look great. And they're not really the color of trees. And you could use monochromatic is nice because you can use anything. Sorry. Monochromatic is great because you can use any colors and it will look good. Monochromatic cards are good. They make people feel mellow, tranquil. They're good for like masculine cards or sympathy cards or thinking of you cards, just depending on the cards you use. Gives you, yeah, it's beautiful. Really very simple. But I love it. And I love this plaid paper. And I love pecan pie. I love both kinds. I like cardstock pecan pie and I like pecan pie. All right, so now we're going to get into a little bit different. We're still going to use pecan pie. And then we're going to bring in some other colors. And so now we're going to be working with like tints and tones. So I'm going to bring in my color wheel. I'm going to move it over to the colors that I'm using. So what you do for this is you pick a color that you like. So for this particular project, I wanted to use copper clay. This one here. And so I lined that up to copper clay. And then I looked to see what colors look good monochromatically. So Cajun craze, copper clay, peach, pumpkin, and wild wheat. And so for this particular one, I am using, sorry, I got to clean these off. I keep getting it into the ink pad. I'm using pumpkin pie, clay, copper clay, and the pecan pie. So the pecan pie is just a neutral. I'm using this color and this color. I wanted to try something that was farther away from each other just to see what it looked like. So I'm going to start by wiping off my masks. And so I wipe off my mask. I'm going to tell you on this one here, these little tiny pieces of branch can get caught. You just want to be a little bit careful because they'll bend back and you don't really want to wreck your mask. So I'm just wiping them off of that color, the pecan pie that was on there. I don't know. And I'm just wiping these off. And then we'll get started. All right, so I really didn't have to wipe this one off. Again, I'm using copper clay. That's my card base. So this was a piece of 8.5 by 11. I cut it in half and I fold it in half, and that gives me my card base. I'm going to come back in. Now I'm going to tell you on this one, on my original card, I used copper clay designer series paper. However, I didn't check my stash and I was out of the copper clay designer series paper. So I looked at my color wheel, pulled out my colors and said, oh, well, Cajun craze will look good with this, so I'll use that. So that's what this is. This is actually a piece of Cajun craze. Cut 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to use the back side here. And I'm going to line it up on there. And you can tell it looks great. It doesn't have to be the exact same colors. All right, so then I'm coming in. I'm going to have another layer of copper clay. And I have a piece of white that I'm going to tape down. I can use my same tape. And I just tape it down because I don't want it to slide on me. And I could tape down this if I really wanted to. I could tape down my mask, and that would keep it. Oh, I want to actually put my tree down first. So I think the last time I did this with you guys, I used this set a couple weeks ago. I actually stamp the image afterwards, which you can do, but I really found that if you stamp the image first, it's much easier to line everything up. So if you want to make sure that you're always lining your masks up exactly the way they're supposed to be, you can line this up and then draw, that little corner so that you always line your masks up on that corner. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one that is pecan pie, and I'm not going to re-ink it because I think it probably is loaded with ink. And I'm just going to sponge that in there. So again, I'm using the pecan pie. It's considered a neutral, even though it does have an orange tint to it. So there's the tree. And then I'm coming in with my next piece, and I'm going to line it up here. If I did a little check mark, I can line it up there and get it right onto where I want the tree to be. And then I'm coming in with pumpkin pie and a sponge dauber. So I brought in my pumpkin pie ink and a sponge dauber, and I lined up my stencil, and I'm going to go ahead and ink up my dauber, and I'm going to be really careful around some of these little edges where that's covering the branches, because those are the little things that could actually get bent back. I bent some on, it must be on my other, must be on the tree. I'll have to show it to you. It still works. I just got a little carried away. All right, so I put the pumpkin pie on there, and you can start to see how this tree unfolds. And then I'm going to come in, line it up again. This time I'm coming in with the copper clay, which has a darker tone to it, which means that it's dulled, or it's either a darker shade or a darker tone. So what they do is they add black or they add gray. And this I'm going to go really lightly. And I'm probably going to come back in with more pumpkin because I really think that's going to... So then I'm going to bring in my pumpkin pie again. Line that up. Just make sure you're using the right sponge dauber every time. And I can actually make this pumpkin pie darker. Kind of blend it in a little bit more. Anyway, you start to see how you get this beautiful tree. And you can always add more ink, but you can't take away ink. So you're better off, oh, come on. You're better off to start with a lighter ink and work your way up to a darker ink. And so I'm going to take this one, and basically it's the same. And I'm going to add this, same measurements, add that onto, because I just wanted a little bit of a border around that. And then I'm going to add this onto here. And then the nice thing about when I'm cutting on my cardstock, I always have these strips laying around, tons of strips of paper. And so I'm going to take the thank you stamp, and I'm going to stamp it on my strip of paper and hope that it's straight, which I think I did pretty well. And then I can cut it. So I'll just cut this, trim this off on a straight edge. And then I'm going to cut this side. And then I'm going to cut up the middle a little bit. And I'm going to cut and make this a little banner. And then I want this to stick out a little bit from my card. So I'm just going to take that sponge dauber with the ink on it and just sponge the edges of my cardstock. It just gives it a little bit of dimension. And I'll add that to my card base. And there you have it. Now I'm going to show you the card that I made this afternoon using the same technique. And you can see where on this one, I actually went a lot darker on my pumpkin pie and my Cajun craze and blended a little bit more. So you can get lots of different looks from one ink. Oh, come on. Sorry. You get lots of different looks from one ink. But I love this. I love the look of this card. All right, so there's that one. I'm going to put these somewhere so I don't lose them, because I will put pictures up. So I'm going to keep the pecan pie out and put away the copper clay and pumpkin. Find out which dauber was actually the pecan pie. Did you see how I did that? I daubed it over here to check. And then I'm going to come in with some different colors. Again, we're doing the same technique. So I'm going to take my color wheel, complementary colors, I'm going to scoot it. And so this one I thought, I want to use garden green, but I wanted to pick a color that I did not think would look that good with it. And so I picked Granny Apple Green because it was at the farthest on the, oh no, that's complementary. Sorry. So I picked garden and thought, oh, we'll see how it looks with Granny Apple Green. Because they're really, that's a big difference. So any of these colors would look good together. All right, so this time we're starting with a garden green base that was it's half a sheet cardstock, so cut in half, scored at 4 1/4. You get 5. So then you get your basic card base. And then I'm coming in with, there's that Granny Apple Green, and there's my white cardstock. But see how good they look? I like the monochromatic look. It really is, as I say, it's tranquil, relaxing. I like those two together. All right, so let's bring in those colors. I got Granny Apple Green and I got Garden Green. And I do believe that my Garden Green is just been re-inked, so it's very wet. And again, I'm going to use the pecan pie. So you could use any neutral, you could use any brown. I just figured I'd just use the same color all night. All right, so there's that. I'm going to wipe off my mask. So I'm going to be a little careful with this one because this one has the branches that poke out and you don't really want to bend them back. This one you don't have to be so shy with. So what I do at the end of the night, like when I'm done stamping for the night, I actually take these out to the kitchen and I run them under water and then I just lay them out to dry. Next morning they're dry. All right, so again, I'm lining this up. I'm taking my pecan pie, pick up a little bit of it. Add some pecan pie. I'm going to go a little bit darker on this one, just because I can. So you got the pecan pie done, and then you're going to come in, same thing, line those up so you can actually see the branches are covered with the plastic mask. Come in with your Granny Green. This is going to be very light. And I kind of brush out on those branches, so I'm not twisting around on them, because that's when they start to bend back. And again, it's always best to put less color on and come back and put more color on later. So there's my beginning of my tree. That's definitely going to need more Granny Green. Then I'm going to bring in my next mask. There we go. When you play with these a lot, you will figure out how to lay them down without having to measure and do it every time. See, this dark green is really green. All right, so, oh, come on. All right, so The green is really, really green. So I'm going to go lightly, really lightly, because I don't want that to be a huge contrast yet. So you can see where I get a little bit of the green. And then I'll come back on with the granny apple. I'm going to make this one, obviously granny apple green is dry. I spent an afternoon last week re-inking some of my color families, but not all of them. And then I can come back in again. And you can do this as many times as you want until you've got your tree looking the way you want it. Oh, it just slipped. Did you see that? So it can slip. It's not going to hurt it. So you get a tree like that. And again, we're going to pop that onto the granny apple green. This one has a little bit bigger of a frame, so this is 1/4 of an inch bigger. So what I've got is my granny apple green is 4 by 5 1/4, and my basic white piece is 1/4 of an inch smaller, so it's 3 3/4 by 5, and that's how you get your layer. And then I'm going to take that other piece of the. I figured out how to not make my thing lock up. So my phone is actually asking me if I want to cancel. Oh, it just quit. If I want to cancel. See, the minute I think I got it. Anyway, I said I didn't want to cancel, or I left it not answering the question in the hopes that it wouldn't. So I'm just using a little scrap that I had laying around that I cut off when I'm cutting all my edges. And I'm going to stamp it on there. Oh, I did pretty good. That's pretty straight for not being directly over the top of it. And so on this one, I again am going to straighten this out, cut my edges into a little banner. I'll show you a different way to put these banners on. So making that little banner corner is not perfect, but it works. And that's all that really counts. It doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, come on. All right. So once I've done that, I'm going to make this into a banner that actually has some wave to it. Once the ink is dry, you're going to take your finger and then take your finger and do the opposite on this side. And then you actually get a banner that has a banner look to it. And then you're going to put it onto your cardstock, and so it's going to be right here is where it's going to actually stick right onto their card, and you've got a banner. The very little bit of dimension. You could put a dimensional under there if you really wanted to make it stay up. But there's your 2 cards using the same colors. So that's that. I'm going to come on screen here for a minute and check messages. So I'm going to scoot down here and see how many. Diana got a mini. Diana, you have your Christmas cards done? You are amazing. Amazing. I have been playing with Christmas stuff in my stamp room the last couple weeks and planning out projects and classes and tutorials and a lot of fun things. All right, so let me see if there's any questions. Now would be a great time to ask. Sorry about the dog. Oh, yeah. So there's lots of information about the color wheel on the internet. And I'm just going to keep it basic. Like I said, I was just going to go with that tone, the monochromatic, the one color look. And I've got a couple more cards I'm doing with the masking, but these are kind of different. They're very different cards. I'm looking forward to it. Oh yeah, so I'm going to use the pine tree again tonight, and I'm going to show you a couple other techniques. Not, I mean, kind of similar to what we did before, but a little bit different. So the color wheel can't be bought yet, Debbie. It was a gift that we got from Stampin' Up when we went to Onstage in the spring, and they are working on one for people to have. So we'll see. They're working on a lot of stuff, but they are working on another color wheel. All right. All right. Doesn't look like anybody has any major questions. 190 cards. That is crazy. All right. I'm just going to move those aside. And now we're going to come in. We're going to do more monochromatic. Only with the other masks. So let me put these aside to be clean. Let me grab something to drink because, oh. I see I'm locked up again. Good thing you guys hang out with me. All right. So this one, I used my color wheel again. And I decided that the favorite color I have is Pool Party. Is one of my favorites. My other favorite color is Lost Lagoon, which shows up in the same monochromatic. So I was like, well, those are two of my favorites. So I'm going to take Pool Party and Lost Lagoon and make a card with them. So this is a piece of Pool Party that was a full sheet. Cut it in half. 8.5 by 5.5. Scored it 4 1/4. It's always the same. Then I've got a piece. Oh, I'm showing kind of a cool technique. This is the Lost Lagoon, which is my other favorite cardstock. So if you're using both of your favorite cardstocks, you just know that the card you're going to make, you're going to love. I'm going to layer that onto my card base. Then I'm going to take another piece of Pool Party. And this time, I'm going to use the big and the little stamps. Tree stamps. So I'm using both of them. Let me grab a big, oh wait, here it is. I got to get this tree off this block. Pop that in there. Pop this tree on here. I'm going to go ahead and wash it because I see I got ink on my block. So we'll get that cleaned up. And then we'll put this little one on here like that. And I'm going to start actually and make only Lost Lagoon. So this card's only going to use Lost Lagoon ink on Pool Party paper. And I'm going to go ahead and take my tree. And my card that I made earlier today, I did not stamp the trees beforehand. I stamped them after. But I really wanted to do them before. I'll stamp one off. All right, and then I'm going to take the little tree and stamp it in between those. And stamp it in between those. All right, so there's my trees. I'm going to come in with my masks. And so there's 3 masks for this particular tree. They are marked A, B, and C. So A is first. And if I had done the tree stenciling first, which is what I did this afternoon, I could have stenciled these at the same time before I moved them, but that's all right. It'll all work out. All right, so you're going to place this on your tree. And because I stamped it first, again, you can see it. You can see where that stencil goes. I don't want to get out so far that you don't see the whole card. And then I'm going to take my sponge dauber and ink it up. Stamp it off because I don't really want that first. Oh yeah, see here, this is where I bent that branch. Still works. I just have to be a little careful because this one has really delicate, it's really delicate on the mask, as you can see. Like this one here, that's the one that I bend. All right, so then I'm going to move it to my next tree. and lightly sponge that on. And then I'll do this one here where I went off the edge, which is kind of, it doesn't really show up great because at the bottom of this, we stamped that tree too. So then once I've done that, then I can line up the little tree. Ooh. Might have got a little carried away. A little bit darker. It's all right. Pine trees don't all look the same. I have found myself driving around here in my, up in the canyon, up the mountain, looking at pine trees, and I'm kind of chuckling because they do look, Stampin' Up! Did a great job on this particular stamp set, because they do have those big spaces in them. All right, so then I'm coming in with my next stencil, which I'm going to line up. And ink some on there. That didn't even hardly show up. I'll do it again. Now some people are doing that, and then they're also moving it down a smidge, and you'll see it in the stencil when it's moved down, and then adding more, just to make so that the branches don't have a bigger space between them. It just gives a little more dimension. But I will tell you, in nature, the branches have big spaces between them. But that's all right. Everybody can do exactly what they want to do with their stamping. I am going to scoot it down because I think it's kind of cool. It just gives it a little bit more dimension. Just gives it a little bit more dimension on the card. And then I'll come in with the smaller tree and add some ink into that. And this smaller tree, and add some ink into that. Now I can do a third one if I want, but I'm not going to on this one because I think that those trees look fabulous, just the way they are with the 2 layers. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to attach it onto my base here. And you can just see the tranquility of this because those colors are monochromatic. They, it's just a darker tone. It just makes it look, it's just so cool. All right, now I'm going to come in with that and another stamp. I want to show you a little technique with a punch. So let me get a block cleaned off here. I want to make sure my camera's working. I'm going to go ahead and ink up this on there. Boy, I got tons of ink on that. I don't know if you saw that block, but it was covered. So I went ahead and I'm going to stamp, I stamped the saying, which is no beauty shines brighter than that of a good heart. And then I'm going to take this label punch. Now this particular punch we have comes 2 different, we actually have a punch and then we have a die also, a set of dies, the exact same. So it just depends. Do you like punches or do you like dies? So as you can see, I punched this, but it's too big. So this is going to be the hardest part. What you're going to do is you're going to take your punch, flip it over, and there's a little groove. There's a paper groove right here. And we're going to slide this end of the punched out cardstock into that paper groove. And when it gets in there, then you're going to slide your punch to wherever you want it to punch. And the edges will keep it straight. And then punch it down. And you've made this big punch, this punch, into a smaller punch that fits the words. So you can do that with all your punches. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of this peacock gold ribbon, and I'm going to flip this over. Let me grab some dimensionals. I'm going to show you how I'm going to put that ribbon on. So one of the things I do with ribbon is I like to just kind of squiggle it in the background. Show you what I mean. So I put some dimensionals onto my label. I'm going to pull those off. And then I'm going to take a piece of ribbon and I'm going to start at this bottom part, like that, and then loop it to that side, and then loop it to that side. And they're stuck to, I found these scissors today and they're like the sharpest scissors. All right, so then it's, I'm going to trim that off so that it doesn't look so frizzy. Anyway, they stick right to the dimensionals. And, oh, this phone is frustrating. They stick right to the dimensionals. You'll see it here in a minute. And then what I can do is just add a couple more dimensionals. It doesn't need a lot. It just needs like one here and maybe one at the bottom. Is good because that's all I have on that sheet. And then pull off the backing of that. And you've got a very cute card with coordinating. Oh, on this one, look at this one. This is the one I did earlier today. I sponged those edges of that label. I like that. So because I can, I'm going to pull this off. And just sponge those edges. I might just do the bottom. I can make sides, what the heck. It won't get too much on that ribbon. There. So somebody thinks you worked really hard. Just gives you an idea. So on this card, I don't know if you can see it, but I added Winkostella to give a little glittery pizzazz to those trees. So that's a cool card. I love that one. All right, now the next card is using the same colors, only this time we're moving up to peacock. So we're going to go with, back to our monochromatic colors. And if I scoot this over, so if I scoot this over, I can go to Lost Lagoon as my color. And then Pretty Peacock's right next to it. So it's not a big, huge difference, but makes the card look different. So card base, half a sheet of cardstock, cut at 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4, folded. Boy, I make that card a lot. All right, then I have a piece of Lost Lagoon, which is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have another layer. Oh no, this is 4 by 5 1/4. Because I'm going to layer this one with white. Wait till you see these trees when I'm done. Oh, they're beautiful. All right, so there's that. But that's ready to go. This time I'm going to be working on Lost Lagoon. We are not going to stamp. We are only going to use the stencils. So I'm going to come in with stencil number A. And I'm going to line them up. And this is where you can see where you can do both trees at the same time. So you're going to save a little bit of time. So you're going to get some ink on there. Careful on the very small, fine cutouts. Do both trees. Just get the start of it. So I'm going to move this over. Oh, maybe I'll go to this one here. Do this one here. Do one here. I think I might do one. I don't know how much I was not showing on that. Sorry. All right. So I just did that one layer of tree. So then I'm coming in with B. And we're going to line them up. So I just lined them up to the marks that are already there. Come in with some more Lost Lagoon on both trees. So you can start to see how these trees start to form. Now this one, I'm actually going to line that stencil back up, and then I'm going to scoot it down a little bit and add a darker color. Do the same with this one. And then this one needs to be inked. This one needs to be inked. Like I said, once you start doing this, you will realize that it all really is pretty easy. And then we'll do some smaller trees. So I have to line this one up. Maybe. All right. Now we're going to come in with the last one, C. And we're going to line this up. Add some color in there. Add some color in there. But you can start to see how these trees come together. And then this one will line up. Add some ink. Doesn't have to be perfect because it's the last step that I do that really makes it pop. And we'll do a few little ones here. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to take my stencil. Come on, phone. Take my stencil and clean it off. And I do want to make sure it's clean because I'm going to use white ink. Now the last time what I did is I embossed. I used Versamark and I embossed. This time I'm going to use white. And I know that some of you tried the Versamark with the embossing. And I think one of the things that you found is that you really have to use an embossing buddy. Otherwise, the embossing powder gets all over everything. So you have to stamp it with Versamark ink. No, use your embossing buddy over the whole card. Stamp it with Versamark ink. Sprinkle on the powder. And then heat set it. Now this technique is different because I'm just using white craft ink, which Stampin' Up! Sells. It's an uninked white pad with a re-inker. So almost every time you use it, you have to re-ink it because it's craft ink and it's very thick. So I'm using a sponge dauber, which I'm going to designate as my white. And this is why you have to have your stencil clean. Otherwise, you're going to end up with Lost Lagoon ink in your white ink pad. Once you've done that, you're just going to take that white ink and go right over the stencil. And it's not real heavy because my ink pad does need to be re-inked. There's no doubt about it, my white. And then we'll do the smaller tree. And when you pull that off, you get that haze of white snow on that card. I'm going to show you the card that I did this afternoon because it's really very simple. Be easier to show you if my phone would work. I might have to come up with a new way. I don't know why it's not. There we go. All right, so this is the card I did this afternoon. And you can see where I actually put white ink on every tree. I just think it's beautiful. And then I just stamped the verse right with the same ink. So this one is all done with Peacock and the Craft. Very simple. Very simple cards. All right. I hope you learned something. I'm trying to think what I forgot to tell you. Oh, let me look here. I have notes. I even have notes. All right, so yeah, it's visually cohesive is what they said in the thing I was looking at. And it elicits a feeling of tranquility. All right, so there is your tutorial for today. I will take pictures of these cards, get them up on my website. The link will be in the description on YouTube, and I'll put it out probably on Facebook too, and maybe even into my newsletter. So if you're not getting my newsletter, you may want to add yourself to my newsletter list, because there's a lot of information that goes out. I've got lots of things coming up. So I've got September, we have a new mini catalog, which hopefully you guys are getting. We also have a whole scrapbook line coming out from Stampin' Up, which is not going to be huge, but it's going to be enough to get us started. I'm kind of excited about some of the stuff I'm hearing. As you know, Close to My Heart closed, and Stampin' Up invited those makers to come and be a part of our group. And they promised them scrapbooking, and we're getting it. So that's coming out September 4th, 5th. September 5th or 4th. I don't know. One of those days. But I'll have more information that I can let you know about. Oh, you're welcome. The preparing for these is a lot, but I do like it, and it's a lot of fun. So I don't mind. So class is coming up next month. I am doing a class on one of the new sets in the, it's not, I don't have it with me, but it's one of the new sets in the Holiday Mini Catalog. It's the pumpkin, all about autumn. So when you get your thing, look at it, because we're going to make some really cute stuff in that class. And then I'm going to start doing scrapbooking. You know, that's how I started years ago, 27, 28 years ago. I was a scrapbooker, and that's when I found Stampin' Up! And thought, this would work with scrapbooking. And I kind of moved away from scrapbooking because, I don't know, I just do when life gets busy. And I'm excited to get back into it and look at it and see what we're going to do. It'll be fun. All right. If anybody has any questions, I got it. Summer fun. We got our summer Stampin' Fun. This is the last. Let me see if I can bring it in. This is the last. Is this the last day of August? No, next week. We have one more, right? I'm making time fly faster than I need to. No, we have another Thursday night. So this is the second to the last drawing. So I will draw a name out of here. They will get a fun gift from me. That person is Lorraine Randall, which I think is funny because I think she's already won. But that happens. Don't forget to ready, set, redeem. Redeem your coupons that you earned last month. Redeem them now for $5 off any of your. Each coupon was worth $5. And then the sale on the Designer Series paper and the big catalog is on. So that's goes on for another week. What did I forget? Did I forget anything? All right, everybody that commented, I will pull a name and I will send you a great packet of stuff when you send me your email, or unless I have it. If I have your address, I'll send it to you. But if I need your address, you have to send it to me. All right, if you don't have a demonstrator and you want a holiday mini catalog, send me an email, diane@DDStamps.com. Let me know that you want a holiday catalog, and I will get one sent out to you. And if you're not on my newsletter, get on my newsletter, because there's a lot of stuff coming out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take care. Have a great night. I appreciate you all coming, and I will speak to you. We will be here next week. So speak to you soon. Bye.